All right, good morning, everybody. I would like to welcome you to Career Conversations and thank you for joining us today. I am your host. My name is Reese Perez, and I am the CTE and High School Curriculum Coordinator for Sequoia Grove. And this morning we have Deputy Sheriff Noah Frederito joining us today, and I'm super excited to welcome him. And without further ado, I'd like to get us started by having Noah tell us a little bit about himself.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody who's watching in. My name is Noah Frederito, and I'm a Deputy Sheriff at the Placer County Sheriff's Office. I've been working in this job for 15 years now, and I'm excited for the opportunity to answer any questions that anybody may have that's joining us today, or who may be interested in a future as a first responder.
Awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us today as well. And how would you describe what you do?
So the best part about what I do is that we never have a routine or typical day. So every day we show up for work, and we hang out ready to answer the phone calls from anybody who calls the sheriff's office asking for help. Those can be 911 emergency calls, or those can be non-emergency calls. Obviously, everybody knows to call 911 when there's an emergency. But we also do other things, like if you haven't heard from a relative or your grandmother in a while, you can more than welcome to call us, and we'll have somebody drive over and knock on her door and make sure she's doing okay and see if she needs anything. If you see a car accident on the freeway, or the fire department is dealing with a fire somewhere, we'll always go to those kinds of incidents and provide assistance with anything that's needed. But the best part is that there's never a typical day, and it's different every day depending on whatever is needed to be done that day.
Love that. We've actually had to utilize those welfare checks with my grandfather, who insists on living by himself at 95 years old.
That's very common, actually. A lot of people are surprised by that, but we do that a lot of times every single day, just for the fact that we have somebody out there in your neighborhood 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're never too far away to drive by and check.
Well, I, for one, certainly appreciate that. So how did you get started in your career? What were the requirements, the education, the skills necessary to get started?
So obviously, first and foremost, a high school diploma with good grades is the number one requirement. Once you get through there, you become qualified once you keep and maintain a clean driving record, have a high school diploma, and you don't have any history or getting in major trouble in the past. And then after that, once you meet the qualifications and you want to apply for a job, then a lot of applicants have college degrees, or they have military experience, which they use to help set them apart from everybody else who's applying for these jobs and putting them in a position to be at the top of the list for hiring to get picked.
Gotcha. And I've heard actually having military experience is very parallel with your line of work. Are there similarities?
There are, and they're also not necessarily job related direct correlation, because in the military there's so many different jobs available. I have prior service in the Army, and I speaking for the Army, I know there's 212 different jobs you can pick in the Army. So there's obviously a very wide array of skills and traits that people develop and learn during their service in the military before they get to a job in law enforcement. But say you didn't have a job that was law enforcement related in the military, there's still tons of skills and training and experience that you learn no matter what your job was that makes you successful in a career in law enforcement.
Love that. I did not know that there were 212 different jobs available in the military. That's crazy.
That's only in the Army too. You figure the
Wow.
Navy and the Air Force have entirely different jobs available.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of
So
opportunity.
my next question is, what does your line of work entail? And can you tell us a little bit about a day in the life?
Sure, I can try to at least. It's a very hard question to answer because we do so many different things, and we have so many different opportunities available from the folks you see driving around in those marked police vehicles and sheriff's vehicles driving around the streets every day, to the folks in the office who are working on gathering and collecting evidence and investigating crimes that had already occurred in the past, to folks that are flying in the helicopter or driving the boats on our lakes and rivers and other waterways. There's just so many different jobs that are available, and everybody's roles are spread out so that everybody's working as a team to make sure that all of our responsibilities are getting covered. It's a very vast opportunity. Lots of people like to move around every few years because, when people get bored or tired of doing the same thing over and over again, there's the opportunity to switch and do something different. Everybody knows that some police officers, some deputies ride motorcycles, some drive cars. In Placer County, we even have some that ride horses or ride snowmobiles. Everybody knows that we get lots of inclement weather up in the Tahoe region, and we obviously have to be prepared for emergencies no matter the time of year, time of day, or the weather. So we have to be prepared to respond, whether they're snowed in or there's a heat wave going on or floods or fires or anything.
I love that there's so many different opportunities within your line of work. That's crazy. I did not realize that you guys had snowmobiles either. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very exciting opportunity that people like to take advantage of, because there's not a lot of jobs out there where you can go to work and ride snowmobiles all day.
Love it. So you already mentioned that you like that your job is different every single day. What else do you like about what you do, and what do you dislike?
One of the most rewarding parts about my job is being able to provide somebody with that little extra bit of help they need to get over a hump or a hurdle in their life, and maybe provide them with the advice or the guidance they need to turn a corner and start making some different decisions in life and get things going in the right direction. Now, on the flip side of that, it obviously can become challenging and frustrating when folks are struggling in life and you're trying to help them and trying to facilitate their success, and they have a hard time switching gears and making different decisions and different choices to go in a different path in life. So it can go both ways when you're dealing with the same types of problems, depending on whether you're having success or you're facing repeated challenges with trying to help people out, trying to get people to make different choices and go a different direction in life.
That's such a noble answer. I mean, really, on both ends of it, it just shows where your heart is and what you do, and I really appreciate that. What sort of shifts do you work? Do you work every day of the week?
So obviously we provide 24-hour a day, 7-day a week coverage for somebody to be there in the car ready to come to your house if you call for help. As part of that, we break down into 3 primary shifts out on the road. So our day shift goes from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we have an evening shift that comes on and starts at 3 p.m. and goes to 1 a.m. And obviously you can see there's an overlapping coverage to make sure that at any given time, there's always somebody out there on the road ready. And then the night shift comes on at 10 p.m. So from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., you have 2 shifts working at the same time. Typically, those are our busiest hours as far as people calling in, making calls for help. And then at 1 a.m., the evening shift goes home, and the night shift works all the way through the night until 8 a.m. the next morning. So we work 10-hour shifts to ensure that there's always overlapping coverage, and there's never any times where there's nobody out there available.
Wow, that's cool. I actually did not know that. What are your busiest hours? From 10 p.m. to like 1 a.m. is your busiest?
Yeah, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. is typically our busiest with calls where people need immediate assistance. We get a lot of calls early in the morning when people wake up and there's either a tree that's fallen down, blocking the roadway, or they've been a victim of a crime and somebody's broken into their car. Or something to that effect. So we get lots of calls in the morning, but most of those calls, they're not critical emergencies that are occurring and need immediate response. Most of those types of calls happen later in the evening between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., which is why we're designed to have overlapping shifts with 2 shifts on duty during that time.
Awesome. How much time do you get to take off every year?
So just like in most jobs, we are lucky to have paid vacation days. Most employees are on a scale depending on how long they've been there. So you can have anywhere between 10 to 15 paid days off a year. We also have, the nature of our job is you don't always get to go home on time when your shift ends. If you're in the middle of helping somebody out, you can't just pull out your watch and say, sorry, it's my shift's over. It's time to go home. So we end up working a lot of overtime hours and staying after our shift is supposed to go over. And you have the choice to utilize those hours later for time off if you want to. So you can make up for the extra time you had to work with additional time off. But in general, you get between 10 and 15 days off a year.
Cool.
That's just the extra vacation days, obviously not counting your regular weekends.
So this is pretty similar to those likes and dislikes question. What's the most challenging thing about what you do? And on the flip side of that, what is the most rewarding thing?
Yeah, it's a very similar question. Let me think about that for a minute. So one of the most challenging things that we deal with is, there's 400,000 people that live in Placer County that we provide service for. So with 400,000 people, unfortunately, the reality means every single day there's a family that's dealing with some kind of tragedy or some kind of adversity. So it can become take a toll on you when every single day you go and share in a tragedy that somebody's going through, which can be a very emotional time, very difficult time. And thankfully for most of us, tragedies we only have to endure, very few and far between. But unfortunately in our job, we have to go to these folks' houses or their places where they work and try and work through these tragedies with them on a daily basis. And so those obviously can take a toll on you from dealing with tragedy repeatedly over and over again. Even if it's not directly related to your family, you're so far involved in it that it has an impact on you. And that becomes challenging over time. Now, on the other side of that same scenario, it's also very rewarding to know that somebody's going through a very challenging time. They're either too upset to be able to make good decisions for themselves, and you're there to help them and guide them and get them through those difficult times. Because maybe while they're overwhelmed with dealing with the tragedy of the situation, you can provide that outside perspective of helping them make good, sound, reasonable decisions during difficult times in their life and helping them get through those challenging times, which, as we all know, everybody endures rough spots and difficult times in their life, and it's rewarding to help be part of the success of getting that person through that opportunity.
That's awesome. What is the common misconception, or maybe just a common misconception about what you do?
That's an easy one because we get this question a lot. Everyone thinks that every police car driving around out there is just driving around looking to give people speeding tickets. And that is, maybe if I had to put a number on it, I would say 1% of what we do. So next time you're in the car and you see a police car behind you, there's a 99% chance that they're driving to somebody's house because they've called and needed help, or they're driving to a different city that's called and asked for help because they're dealing with a incident or a tragedy and they're overwhelmed for resources. And very, very rarely is that car behind you checking on your speed because there's a more serious emergency going on somewhere else that they're trying to get to. Now, we have a policy at the sheriff's office, and California has a law that says you're only allowed to have your lights and sirens on when you're going to a immediate life-threatening emergency. So just because they don't have their lights and sirens on doesn't mean they're going to somewhere important or somebody that needs help. It just doesn't quite meet the criteria for an immediate life-threatening emergency. But very, very rarely are they back there checking on your speed or looking to see how you're driving because they're busy trying to get somewhere else more important at that moment.
That's good to know. What advice do you have for anyone looking to get into your career?
Yeah, so we have about 250 deputy sheriffs that work at the Placer County Sheriff's Office. And I would say that no two of them took the exact same path to get to where they are now with a career in law enforcement. So there's lots of different ways to get there. The basic principles are to keep yourself out of trouble, make sure you do good at school. Once you get through high school, pick a path that will help improve you as a person, make you smarter, give you more life experience, and help develop some of your skills. And those are the things that'll put you over the rest of the crowd when it comes to getting picked for the job. But most importantly, you got to just make good decisions and stay out of trouble.
I love that self-development piece. It's so, so true for anybody, really. At this point, I would love to open the questioning up to the audience. If anybody has questions, you can type them in the chat or you can unmute and ask them. And we will go for maybe a couple minutes here. I heard somebody unmute for a minute. Oh, good. Oh, go ahead, Josiah.
What's your favorite like vehicle to drive around in? Like, if it's like a motorcycle, a snowmobile, just a normal car or vehicle, or what is it?
So thanks for the question, Josiah. I bet if you asked 5 deputies that, you'd get 5 different answers. For me personally, my favorite vehicle to drive in is our SWAT armored rescue Bearcat. I don't know if you've seen the big armored trucks driving around town, but those are my favorite because when you're driving around town, they always get the most attention and everybody wants to stop and wave at you and everybody has a good time. So it's fun to wave back and interact with all the citizens as you drive around because that one gets you the most attention for sure. I would say that riding the snowmobiles would be my close second.
Nice. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. We'll wait one more second just to see if anybody has a question.
Somebody has one, I know it. They're just not sure if they want to ask. I promise you could ask anything. There's no bad questions.
That's very true.
I live in Butte County. I don't know if you know Jason Smith. He's a police officer, but he runs a thing called Chico Sea Cadets.
Josiah, I don't recognize him by name, but I have worked in Butte County a few times. When the Oroville Dam was overflowing, I went and worked in Butte County for a week. And then during the wildfire in Paradise, I worked in Butte County for another week. So it's very possible that I've worked with him and hung out with him and interacted with him, but just off the top of my head, by name, it doesn't ring a bell, but I might recognize him if I saw his face.
All right, guys. Well, if nobody has any other immediate questions, I certainly don't want to take up any more of Noah's time, but I just wanted to, let me go to the last slide here. Okay, I just wanted to thank you, Noah, for your time and certainly for your service to our community. And I just wanted to end with a quote that I found from President Ronald Reagan that I loved so much. And it says, "Evil is powerless if the good are unafraid." And we just want to thank you so much for being that fearless leader in our community and having that valor and that courage to fight the good fight every day and put your life on the line. And we just want to thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I really had a great time hanging out with you guys this morning and hopefully look forward to maybe seeing you guys again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Noah.
Thank you guys. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.